Jesus appeared, not in glory but vulnerable. In the vision, his heart was revealed to her, radiant, living, and wounded. Perceived as real and living within the mystical vision. Crowned with thorns, surrounded by flames, topped by a cross, he spoke, "Behold this heart which has so loved men that it has spared nothing, even to exhausting and consuming itself, in order to testify its love. And in return, I receive from the greater part only ingratitude." He looked at Margaret Mary with infinite love and pain. "Will you console my heart? Will you make reparation for this ingratitude?" She said yes. Changed Catholic spirituality forever. This vision and the subsequent Sacred Heart revelations is documented in Margaret Mary's autobiography and letters, written under obedience to her superiors. Blessed Claude de la Colombière, her Jesuit spiritual director who is now beatified, examined her experiences carefully, confirmed their authenticity, and promoted the devotion she described. The Church herself formally approved what Margaret Mary witnessed. Pope Pius IX established the Universal Feast of the Sacred Heart in 1856. Pope Pius XI wrote an entire encyclical on this devotion in 1928. Today, 350 years later, millions practice this devotion. Sacred Heart images appear in countless churches and homes worldwide. Religious orders are dedicated to it. What Jesus revealed to one obscure nun in a small French convent became universal Catholic practice. Margaret Mary Alacoque was born in 1647 in Burgundy. Her childhood was marked by sickness, her father's early death, and family struggles. Yet from her earliest years, she possessed a deep prayer life so profound that at age 4, she made a private vow of virginity. It was unusual, precocious, but it revealed the intensity of her spiritual attraction to God even as a small child. At age 24, in 1671, she entered the Visitation monastery at Paray-le-Monial. The order had been founded by Saint Francis de Sales, and it emphasized a hidden life, humility, and gentle charity. But Margaret Mary's first 2 years as a nun were difficult. The other sisters found her strange. She experienced mystical visions, practiced intense penances, seemed unable to fit into the ordinary rhythms of community life. She struggled with obedience, with the demands of living alongside others, with chronic physical illnesses. She alternated between periods of spiritual dryness and mystical encounters she couldn't explain and didn't know if she should trust. By December 1673, she had been a nun for only 2 years. She was relatively unknown, considered odd by her community, still finding her way. It was the feast of St. John the Evangelist, December 27th, the disciple Jesus loved, the one who leaned on Jesus's chest at the Last Supper. Margaret Mary was doing what she did often, praying before the Blessed Sacrament, spending hours in Eucharistic adoration, contemplating the mystery of Jesus's presence in the consecrated host exposed in the monstrance. Then came the vision that would define her life and transform the Church. This is traditionally regarded as the first of the great revelations of the Sacred Heart. Margaret Mary knelt before the Blessed Sacrament, deep in prayer, contemplating Jesus's love and his presence in the Eucharist. Suddenly, Jesus appeared to her in mystical vision. This was a mystical apparition granted during prayer, not a physical replacement of the Eucharistic species. His appearance was neither the glorious risen Christ in blinding light, nor the suffering Christ on the cross. He appeared as he is, glorified yet still bearing his wounds, loving yet sorrowful, divine yet accessible, present. Her attention was drawn immediately to the mystery revealed before her. In the vision, his heart was revealed to her, radiant, living, and wounded. This was not merely symbolic. Margaret Mary described perceiving his heart as real and living within the mystical vision. It was pierced with the wound from the lance on Calvary, as described in John's Gospel. It was crowned with thorns, representing the sins that wound it. It was surrounded by flames, representing his burning love for humanity. It was surmounted by a small cross, representing redemption, and it radiated light. Jesus spoke to her. She heard his voice, not as an external sound, but as interior locution, clearer and more certain than external hearing could ever be. The words as she recorded them in her writings under obedience were these: Behold this heart, which has so loved men that it has spared nothing, even to exhausting and consuming itself, in order to testify its love. Jesus pointed to the specific proofs of his love, the incarnation becoming human, taking on flesh, entering into our condition, his entire life teaching, healing, serving, walking dusty roads, touching lepers, weeping with mourners. The passion, his suffering, his death, the nails, the thorns, the abandonment. The Eucharist remaining present, giving himself as food, offering himself to be consumed by those he loves. His ongoing intercession, praying for humanity constantly, never ceasing to bring us before the Father. He had spared nothing, held nothing back, given everything. He had exhausted and consumed himself, literally wore himself out, poured himself out completely, emptied himself for love. Then came the contrast, the lament that pierced Margaret Mary's heart. As Margaret Mary recorded, Jesus lamented, "And in return, I receive from the greater part only ingratitude, by their irreverence and sacrilege, and by the coldness and contempt they have for me in this sacrament of love." Ingratitude. People don't appreciate his love, take it for granted, treat his self-gift as ordinary or expected. Irreverence. A casual, disrespectful approach to the Eucharist, receiving him without preparation or awareness. Sacrilege. Receiving communion in mortal sin, desecrating the host, treating what is sacred as common. Coldness. Indifference. Lukewarmness. Going through motions without love or attention. Contempt. Active rejection. Mockery. Hatred of what he offers. And he specified, this sacrament of love, the Eucharist, his greatest gift giving, his actual body and blood receives the worst response. Ignored, dishonored, rejected. But Jesus continued, and these words wounded Margaret Mary most deeply. But what is still more painful to me is that even hearts consecrated to me treat me in this way. Hearts consecrated to him, priests who say Mass daily, religious nuns, monks, friars who have vowed their lives to him, people who have given themselves to him completely. From the world, Jesus expects rejection. They don't know him, don't love him, pursue other things. But from his own, from those who should know him best, love him most, serve him most faithfully, when they are cold, indifferent, irreverent, this wounds him most deeply. It is the difference between betrayal by strangers and betrayal by family. Strangers rejecting you hurts. Your own family, your own beloved ones rejecting you, this is devastating. As Margaret Mary understood it, this grieves his heart. The lukewarmness of those who should love him most causes him the deepest sorrow. Margaret Mary understood immediately. She was a nun. He was speaking to her about her own community, her own life. Was she among those wounding him with lukewarmness? Then came the invitation, the mission that would define her remaining years. Jesus said to her, "This is why I ask you to make reparation to my heart. Console me for this ingratitude." He was asking her specifically, personally. "I want you to be the instrument of my heart. Love me as I have loved you. Make reparation for those who wound me. I want you to make my heart known to the world. Establish devotion to my sacred heart." And he outlined specific practices. In this vision and in subsequent revelations, Jesus gave her detailed instructions. First, the devotion of the first Fridays. Receive communion with proper devotion on the first Friday of 9 consecutive months. For those who do this, he made an extraordinary promise. "I promise you, in the excess of the mercy of my heart, that its all-powerful love will grant to all those who receive communion on 9 consecutive First Fridays the grace of final repentance. They will not die in my displeasure, nor without receiving the sacraments, and my heart will be their secure refuge in that last hour." Second, the Holy Hour. Spend 1 hour in prayer on Thursday night or early Friday morning, between 11 and midnight or midnight and 1, remembering his agony in Gethsemane when his disciples slept and he prayed alone. "Could you not watch 1 hour with me?" he had asked them in the garden. This would be reparation for that abandonment, companionship in his suffering. Third, establish a liturgical feast honoring the Sacred Heart, to be celebrated on the Friday after the Feast of Corpus Christi in June. Fourth, spread images of the Sacred Heart in churches. in homes, in public places. The image he wanted, Jesus pointing to his heart, visible, wounded, crowned with thorns, surrounded by flames, surmounted by a cross. And he promised, "My heart will abundantly bless all those who honor it and who procure its being honored." Margaret Mary, overwhelmed but trusting, accepted, "Yes, Lord, I will do whatever you ask." But the path ahead was not easy. When Margaret Mary told her superior, Mother de Salmes, about the visions, the response was skepticism, even suspicion. "This is probably your imagination, or the devil deceiving you, or you're mentally unwell." She was ordered to speak about it to no one else. When word nevertheless leaked to the other nuns, the reaction was worse: ridicule, suspicion. "She's delusional. She's seeking attention. She's prideful, claiming Jesus appears to her specially." Some nuns openly mocked her. Others pitied her. Few believed her. She endured this for years, considered the odd one, possibly insane, definitely not to be trusted. The breakthrough came in 1675 when Blessed Claude de la Colombière, a Jesuit priest, arrived at Paray-le-Monial as chaplain. Margaret Mary confessed to him and told him about the visions. He examined everything carefully: her character, her experiences, the fruits of what she described, the consistency with church teaching. He concluded, authentic, from God. He became her defender and the first great promoter of Sacred Heart devotion. After his support, slowly, hesitantly, some nuns began to believe. The devotion began spreading beyond the convent walls. But opposition remained strong for decades after Margaret Mary's death in 1690. Yet 350 years later, what Jesus revealed to Margaret Mary in that chapel in December 1673 has become universal. The Sacred Heart Feast is celebrated worldwide every year. The devotion of the First Fridays is practiced by millions of Catholics. The Holy Hour is observed in parishes across the globe. Images of the Sacred Heart appear in virtually every Catholic church, in countless homes. Religious orders are dedicated to the Sacred Heart Fathers, the Daughters of the Sacred Heart, and others. Schools, hospitals, and parishes bear the name Sacred Heart. Entire countries, like Ecuador, have been consecrated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. From one nun's private vision, considered madness by her own community, to a global devotion affecting hundreds of millions of people, Jesus' heart still loves and is grieved by human indifference. As Margaret Mary recorded, his words remain true in our time. He continues to love completely, to give everything, to exhaust and consume himself in the Eucharist, and he continues to receive, from many, ingratitude, irreverence, coldness. The question he asked Margaret, Mary, remains an invitation. Will you console his heart? Will you be among those who love him in return, or among those whose indifference wounds him? The invitation to make reparation remains open. Console Jesus for the coldness, the irreverence, the sacrilege against the Eucharist that continues in every age. Practice the devotions he revealed, the First Fridays, the Holy Hour, acts of reparation and love. His heart remains a refuge. He promised special graces, including the grace of final repentance to those who practice this devotion with sincere faith and love. This is not magic or superstition. It is his mercy responding to love, his faithfulness honoring those who honor him, and the mission he gave Margaret Mary extends to those who feel drawn to continue it. Display an image of the Sacred Heart in your home. Practice the devotion. Tell others about his love and his desire to be loved in return. Jesus asked an obscure, ridiculed nun to spread devotion to his heart. She said yes, endured opposition and mockery, persevered, changed the world. This devotion remains an invitation for every soul who feels drawn to it. Jesus revealed his heart, wounded by love, grieved by ingratitude, burning with desire to save. He asked Margaret Mary, "Will you console me?" She said yes. The devotion she established has touched hundreds of millions. The same invitation extends to those who hear this account. Practice First Friday this month. Display the Sacred Heart image in your home. Pray the simple prayer that summarizes this entire devotion. Sacred Heart of Jesus, I place my trust in you.